Hey, this is Matt Stone of 180 Degree Health, and didn't have time for a post today, but I wanted to continue our series on calorie myths, or the calorie myth, or whatever you want to call it. Talked about some new interesting things that we've never really discussed before, such as digestibility. Just because you take a calorie in doesn't mean that you actually digest and absorb it. And there's certainly all different kinds of things in the body that can control whether we absorb a calorie and whether it gets converted into body fat or lean tissue and so forth. But I wanted to get beyond a little bit of that more complicated, ethereal sounding stuff and really talk basics. This is the time of year when people are out there looking for their next big 2012 diet. They've failed 30 times already, but they keep believing that there's going to be this one way that makes it doable for them. So this is the time of year where people are making all these unrealistic objectives and goals for themselves that are in total disharmony with who they are and what they really want to be spending their time doing. But here they go for 2012 and they're ready to gear up and spend a lot more time and attention on their diet and exercise program, doing it typically in an unsustainable and very unintelligent fashion. I just wanted to talk a little bit about the basics, my basic message that I've been talking about for years when it comes to calories, so that the stragglers or the new people on the site really get a firm message about calories and how just creating a calorie deficit to lose weight is not something that actually has shown to work, and it's something that comes along with a lot of health consequences as well. So and not just health consequences, but really disturbs your entire life because it disrupts your mood, it disrupts your thinking patterns and all kinds of things. It's one of the most underappreciated evils in the world today is, of course, trying to force your body to get smaller, force the body fat off of your body. Anyways, when they've studied calorie restriction, where they create a calorie deficit, and that's with exercise, that's with diet, or that's with a combination of diet and exercise. So thinking about the whole bank account version of obesity, where we become overweight because we eat more than we exercise, or we eat more food than we burn. While that obviously has to be true, everybody looks at it as being this simple act of will. It's something that we intentionally go out and we eat too much food, and then we don't burn it off later because we're lazy, and then we just start stockpiling body fat. Well, that's not really how it works at all. And it's the whole thing, the whole picture just completely ignores all the physiological mechanisms that are supposed to kick in and regulate body weight automatically. If you hold your breath, you need to breathe in extra air afterwards. You have these impulses that make you want to breathe when you're not breathing. If you eat salty food, you want to drink water, okay? Because your body is too concentrated full of salt and your body needs to dilute that. It recognizes that immediately. Okay, the body is very intelligent when it comes to its needs. And to think that we have all this self-regulating systems for breathing, that we have self-regulating systems for relative balances of electrolytes and things like that, to think that we don't have all these automatic regulatory mechanisms in our bodies that regulate the most basic thing, which is our energy supply, is absolutely ludicrous. So if you don't change any other variables and you just decrease the amount of energy that you're taking in because you're eating less, you're not dealing with those mechanisms whatsoever. You're not altering those mechanisms. So what happens is, of course, you lose weight because you're not taking in any calories. You're taking in too little to sustain yourself, and you lose weight, and you lose body fat, and usually some other things along with it. But you're not changing the regulating mechanism. So what kicks in? Boom, hunger. And what else happens? Well, your metabolism can slow down dramatically. I've been weight stable eating 4,000 calories a day where I wasn't gaining or losing weight and not doing any exercise. And I've been weight stable eating 1,500 calories a day and doing lots of exercise. It is incredible how much our metabolism can fluctuate and vary. And we definitely want to be on the higher end of that because our greatest level of vitality or cellular energy production takes place when our metabolism is on the high end there. So you don't want to be restricting yourself. You don't want to be restricting calories. You don't want to be under eating because you just have a low energy production if you do that. The whole idea that you can sort of restrict calories and live to be 150 years old is really a fantasy. We know that, I won't get into all that because I could go on a 10-year long tangent. I would be an old man by the time I got done with that tangent. But what I'm saying is if you only change that variable, the focus is on your own intake, and the focus is not on how do you alter those regulatory mechanisms that make your body change the amount of body fat that it wants to be carrying around. People don't really understand that fully. Science doesn't understand that fully. We didn't even discover the hormone that controls this until 1994. That's the hormone leptin. And with leptin, much of it still remains a mystery, or at least the information that we do have about it is more like clues pointing to the right direction, but we don't know we haven't made any grand scientific conclusions about how to fix the whole leptin issue and make people get their bodies to want to be lean and have it regulate their body weight at a low weight without very much body fat. So that's just one myth. You don't want to be just altering calories. Now, if you alter the type of food you are eating, it may cause you to decrease, you may cause your appetite to decrease automatically, and you may take in fewer calories. The difference is that it's happening automatically instead of you just counting calories. A lot of people say 2,000 calories is 2,000 calories, but some sets of 2,000 calories you may feel fully satisfied, and it may not negatively affect your metabolism at all, whereas 2,000 calories of other types of foods are just doing what you have been doing, but eating less of it is just going to make you hungrier and slow down your metabolism. So there can be a huge fundamental difference there. So the emphasis is not on eating less of the same foods in the same diet that made you overweight. And again, diet is not everything. In fact, that's probably less than 50% of it is the actual diet itself. The other 50% or more, and it varies. A lot of times this is 95% of it for people, is other things going on, such as stress or sleep loss or exposure to some toxic substance or taking medications that cause fat gain and cause your body to want to store more fat. There's all kinds of other factors outside of there, but we're not going to get into all that. But if you just alter the calories, it's not going to, it's not likely to work out long term. And we know after studying this that you just really get nowhere. You take 2 steps forward, and then you take, at least 2 steps backwards, if not 3 steps backwards, as you regain all the weight you lost after having gone through that period of intentionally restricting your calories, intentionally eating less. Now, when people change their diets around and all of a sudden they desire less food and they're losing weight and all this stuff, that's a big difference, and that can actually be vastly superior. Can you still get into trouble doing that? Of course you can. But it's vastly superior than to just eat less of what you're already eating. So the biggest fundamental is probably just to eat more unrefined food, less of the processed refined foods. But even then, you can still turn it into a disaster by restricting yourself and restraining yourself from eating foods that you want to eat, which, I believe is a powerful, if not the most powerful force at getting your body to want to store more calories than it uses. There's like I said, there's these automatic self-regulatory mechanisms. If your body wants to take in more calories than it burns, it will find a way to achieve that. It's almost inevitable. And likewise, the exact opposite can take place, where you're eating as much food as you want, you're moving around and exercising as much as you want, you're not forcing anything, you're going against your will in any way, and all of a sudden that flip-flops and you're losing weight. So the key is obviously what I'm getting at is to let it take place automatically, let it happen and unfold naturally, or else you're going to get yourself into serious trouble. From a health perspective, from a mood perspective, your sex drive is going to crash. Your energy levels are going to tank. You're likely to develop new allergies, food allergies, autoimmune disease, who knows what kind of things. And then as you regain the weight, you're much more likely to become increasingly insulin resistant, store more belly fat, and do all these things that are totally unwanted consequences. It's exactly what you were trying to not do, and what you were trying to move away from, you actually ended up creating by going on these calorie restriction diets where you're only altering the variable of calories in. Exercise is another thing it's superior to just cutting calories, because you actually do change your physiology, and sometimes you change your physiology in a way that makes your body want to automatically be leaner. And that certainly makes sense when it comes to doing high performance exercise, where the body weight that you carry is a burden. And your body is feeling like it needs to generate more muscle tissue, more power, and more strength. And it will start to divert calories into your muscle tissue to create energy and explosive power. So exercise, the right kind of exercise, can really change how your body allocates or partitions those calories. It could send them, instead of throwing and stowing away all of the calories into fat tissue, it can switch that around and start putting it into muscle tissue. And you can actually, experience some significant changes in body composition from doing exercise without consciously altering the calorie levels that you're eating. Likewise, if you start eating fewer calories when you're exercising, that often comes about as a natural consequence to exercising. That's probably not going to happen when you do a lot of endurance exercise and things like that, but it is almost certain to happen when you do some of these higher intensity explosive type exercises that really change your physiology. So again, the message is, please do not try to force anything in terms of just changing variables like calories in, calories out, because it doesn't work, because you're battling against your body's mechanisms. There is a way that you can work with it. The only way to lose it, the only pound loss that counts, is a pound that you lose automatically, where your body decides that it wants to get rid of that pound, not your mind, because you saw a TV commercial or you saw the cover of a Men's Health magazine and you really wanted to look like that, so you decided to have nothing but protein shakes that day. That pound lost does not count. The pound lost where your body is actually deciding and automatically shedding that pound without you even knowing that you're dieting, without you being hungry, without you knowing that you're working to lose this pound. That is the kind of pound that will come off and not impact your health in a negative way and will not come back. So that's all I had to say for this message. But obviously that's a big core message of mine, and we'll get more into this sort of calorie myth conversation later on. Happy New Year, everybody, and I'll be back with you soon. Peace.